If you're a FNAF fan who's been keeping an eye on the story, you've likely heard of the name Shadow Freddy. Now, I know I'm familiar with that name because, well, he's my favorite FNAF character. For the longest time, I found it quite absurd with how absent Shadow Freddy is when it comes to just FNAF in general. I mean, you have Shadow Bonnie appearing in Five Nights at Freddy's AR Special Delivery, and then in one of the Fazbear Fright stories, Hide and Seek, while Shadow Freddy just has a Help Wanted appearance, but not even that as much. I personally find that just strange because, well, the modern FNAF story has been surrounding itself with agony, memories, and all that stuff, and he's absent. Or is he? Hello everyone, my name is DJ Aiden, and today I want to talk about Shadow Freddy's potential inclusion to modern FNAF. Now, before we begin theorizing, I think I should probably express my opinion on who Shadow Freddy is. Now, don't worry, I will keep this short as much as possible. You're not going to be trapped here for 20 minutes. Now, I personally believe that Shadow Freddy is the pure agony of Afton's wickedness, wearing his creation's face, Fazbear Entertainment's greatest success and their greatest failure. His shadowy form is given even more strength within the events of FNAF 4. He becomes Nightmare to terrorize Michael Afton, the older son of William. Now, to clarify, yes, I do think that Shadow Freddy and Nightmare are the same entity. And the reason why I believe this to be the case is because the FNAF 4 files have called Nightmare Shadow Freddy. That and Nightmare is literally an opposite to, Nightmare Fredbear, and Shadow Freddy is an opposite to Golden Freddy, so, Also, Shadow Freddy is the crumpled Freddy soon in FNAF 3. See? I told you I wouldn't take forever. Now, let's not waste any more time, and let's jump into this bear-shaped rabbit hole. Alright, let's not beat around the bush here. I actually do think that Shadow Freddy has potential to return, but let me give out some evidence and ideas as to why I think this is even possible in the first place. I think the biggest evidence that added fuel to the fire is this book, the Five Nights at Freddy's Character Encyclopedia book. Now, on page 18 of the book, it makes a very interesting comment about Shadow Freddy. We don't know much about him. Will he turn out to be a crucial character in the ongoing mythology of Five Nights at Freddy's? Maybe, maybe not. Time will tell. Now that's quite the strange quote. Out of all the characters, why tease that Shadow Freddy may or may not return? But I'm not done yet. I still have this strange little detail to point out. In the storytime ending of Secret of the Mimic, we go to David's room and we see these characters that are associated with these specific colors. An orangish red fox, a green gator, a pink puppy, a yellow chicken, a blue bunny, and then a purple bear? Why is a purple bear there? Some may argue that it's Fredbear, but then that raises the question, where on earth is Freddy? We know that Freddy was a thing in the Fazbear project, so what's up with this purple bear? I believe that I may have an answer to this. What if the original Freddy was a purple bear? Now, I think the FNAF movie helps with this theory. In the production of the movie, we had several Easter eggs. An endoskeleton that Scott personally nicknamed as Arnold, a dog suit whose name was, well, unknown, and Shadow Freddy. And then 2 years later, we see a dog springlock suit by the name of Bub, who looks quite similar to that dog suit, don't you think? And then we see a protagonist by the name of Arnold, and now, a purple bear. Would you look at that? Shadow Freddy is in the movie as an Easter egg. What if Scott did all of this as a fun little nod to the next FNAF game that he closely worked on, Secret of the Mimic? Okay, now this one is probably the weakest evidence, so you can ignore this if you want to, but in Help Wanted 2, there are 3 paper pals, 2 being a black colored Freddy and 1 being a black colored Bonnie. Now, they don't share the same color as the paper pals that we know in original FNAF. You could point this to being Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie, as they're usually associated with the color black. Well, I mean, Shadow Freddy is more rather purplish, but sometimes he's associated with, more of like the color black sometimes, like Pizzeria Sim. I don't know, you can discard this if you want to. I think it's kind of a stretch. So with all of that in mind, here's my first idea as to what could be going on. And yes, this is my only first idea. It will evolve because guess what? I was hiding stuff from you and you're gonna have to find out after this idea, but here we go. With Fazbear Entertainment being constantly haunted by the past, I mean, look at them, that is the definition of haunted by the past, lol, lamau even when they try to cover it all up, the shadows of the past will always emerge. Shadow Bonnie returns as the guardian of the remnants, and Shadow Freddy returns to spread chaos. This may lead to stuff hitting the fan in the future games, where the past quite literally comes back to haunt the next generation of Fazbear Entertainment. Now, if you looked at that idea and went like, wait, that's it? That's the theory? That's it? That was kind of lame. Well, I have good news for you. That's not it, and that's the reaction I want out of you. I want you to be expecting more, because guess what? I do have more, and I'd argue this idea is more stronger than the other one, let me just say. Now, strap on in, folks, because this is the part where people side-eye me. Well, I mean, actually, people already side-eye me when I mentioned Shadow Freddy returning. But nonetheless, here it is. I think it's very possible that Nightmare in A is Shadow Freddy. I won't waste your time, so let me explain the evidence. So, do you remember when I said that I wanted to clarify that Shadow Freddy is most definitely Nightmare? Well, I said that for a reason, not to goof around or anything. In FNAF Security Breach and its DLC Ruin, these Nightmare in A plushies are given the name Nightmare. Now, this is most definitely intentional, because if the name was an error, Steel would have absolutely changed it to Nightmare in A by now, but it's still there in Ruin. You know, the DLC that's got proclaimed as it being, you know, a course correction of the mistakes. Now, there are some important questions that need to be addressed. Why did Shadow Freddy change it to Nightmarian in modern FNAF? Now, I'll be honest, I cannot give a good answer as to why. Maybe he wanted to take the form of modern version of Fazbear Entertainment, what do I know? But perhaps this could be an evolved form. You know, like how shadows evolve, as the Fazbear Frights books have stated, because in Hide and Seek, Shadow Bonnie grows more scary and sharp teeth and blah blah scary. But the Pizzaplex would most definitely make for a good conductor of the anguish and memories. I mean, we see memories displayed with the AR world in Ruin. You hear and see the past memories of the Pizzaplex, places suddenly becoming less ruined, kids screaming in joy, and kids crying in terror. The Nightmarian plushie is even connected to the AR world by being a node. As for the Nightmarian bots, I think they're agony-inflicted machines. I believe this to be the case because in the Help Wanted 2 levels, Fizzy Faz, a staff bot can magically turn into a Nightmarian bot when angered. Yeah, no, that's definitely agony, because how can it do that unless, like, unless Fazbear Entertainment designed that, which would be kind of funny, I would not lie. But yeah, that pretty much leads me to believe that the Nightmarian bots contain agony, hence the Nightmarian appearance, because, you know, Nightmarian, agony, Shadow Freddy, you know, agony, you know, so evil. But enough of my yapping. Here are the pieces put together, like it's Five Nights at Freddy's world. Shadow Freddy comes back for the pain of Fazbear Entertainment, but now he takes the form of something new. As of now, he bides his time, watching, hiding in the shadows, despite Fazbear Entertainment desperately wanting to move on and convince their audience that nothing bad happened in the past and it's all just a hoax. The shadows of the past will always catch up to them, and the nightmare lives on forever. So does this mean that I solved modern FNAF and Shadow Freddy will objectively return and Scott is gonna give me the FNAF? No, not really. At the end of the day, guys, this is merely a theory that I made out of passion for Shadow Freddy, since, you know, he's my #1 favorite FNAF character. But don't get me mistaken, I genuinely do think that Shadow Freddy could return. This isn't just something I made because, ooh, I really like Shadow Freddy. I'm hyper fixated on him, which means I'm gonna make up insane theories. Well, I mean, this one is a little bit insane, but, like, I swear, I promise, I feel like there's a little bit of sanity in there. Or I really hope so. I really do. You guys don't see me insane, dude. Now, if your reaction to this theory video was, what does any of this mean? And fair enough, I'm not gonna yell at you over it. I've had my moments like that with FNAF theories, but I just ask that you don't try to be too rude over my theory, or to those who respectfully don't agree with it. Okay, guys? But even if Shadow Freddy doesn't appear in the games, and he appears in the movies, I'll die happy. If I get to see a slither of the purple bear doing something cool in the movies, I'll die happy. Screw it. But nonetheless, thank you all, and I hope you enjoy this little crazy fairy of mine, and I'll catch you on the flip side.